last week we posted a clip of me being choked by our man Cash, talking about how we throw the hand up over the head, and we got a lot of comments regarding whether or not situations like that can still work if you are a smaller person getting choked by a bigger, stronger person, and more specifically, if you are a smaller female getting choked by a stronger, bigger male, is that a technique that actually works? And the bigger question is does size actually matter when it comes to fighting as a whole? Which, yes, it does, but it doesn't mean that you can't get the job done. It just means that you have to work harder to accomplish it. One of the things that people got is like, all right, when they do this, go for the eyes, right, which is always like the first one that everyone says. But again, with height difference, and it's
my arms won't reach.
It's either you won't reach or it's really easy for you just to turn your head, and that's not going to happen. I got the kick for the groin, which is always great, but keep in mind, if he's driving me forward, I'm never going to be able to get my foot off the ground because I'm going to be shuffling steps. So that's where we worked on the idea of going with the momentum a little bit, choosing an arm, shooting straight up, but I'm catching it at the wrist. And then as I start turning with my shoulders, I'm attacking the wrist rather than like me trying to attack at the elbows, shoot up here and catch the wrist. And then when you come down, this is where, depending on size, either like for me to you, I'm probably guessing that I'll be able to come across. You might be able to, and if not, as you come down, you might actually have to like really drop your whole body into the process. So that's kind of where it's like you could still do it as a smaller person, but you're gonna have to put in a little bit more oomph. So I want you to like drive like you're doing this, right? And just be. Okay. Let me just feel it and see what you're gonna do. So go ahead.
Yeah. Is that it?
That's what I want.
Is that perfect?
No, that's what I want.
That's perfect.
Go ahead. Thing is the momentum. Right. So it's like a follow-up of when you're here and I'm coming up and down. You were
still going that way.
You were like on me the moment I let go.
Yeah. Yeah, it works. I'm not letting go, like it's just happening.
Yeah, it's a little harder, obviously, to get it, but you just have to know.
Arm straight up, and come straight down.
Let go of this arm. Because like when I do it, I feel like I'm doing it. I don't even know.
What do you mean?
I guess like you can't keep holding with that arm even.
No, but you see how he turns. Right?
I gotta turn. But are you saying from like a choking, like choking with one hand? Choking with one hand. Yeah. That's like the thing is like he like unless I had like even you, I don't even think he can actually like really put pressure on you. Like nothing that.
I mean, he can because
I'm going around.
His thumb reaches around to my
But if you think about it compared to that, compared to if
both,
like if I'm up on a post. Right. So now it's not even that he's squeezing, like you're squeezing, go ahead squeeze, but you're driving that hand. So I'm feeling the pressure of like the middle of the hand rather than like he just doesn't have big meaty hands. So like if he had the two hands here, once one comes down, if he just maintains this same exact grip, nothing's gonna happen. He's gonna have to shift this. And then essentially, again, it's going to be more him just forcing.
And then putting your arm up still against stuff.
Oh, yeah. And now even with like this one, you can get away with what they do this in Krav, where it's like the quick release. And even guys will do it with the double hands. And they just do like the quick, you grab like the palm. I'm not muscling it off, but it's a quick rip. And I'm just ripping, not peeling fingers. Because again, if he's really squeezing, I'm not going to be able to, and we tested this, I'm not going to be able to get my hands in. Like, don't ever reach for back here. And you three probably know this better than anyone. Like strong grips, even if I'm just grabbing here, it's very hard to peel fingers off. For me to sit here and try and like pull these fingers off and like pull this thumb off, it's not gonna happen. But if I just grab here and I rip it down, and then you add in like motion, striking all at the same time, yeah, I can rip it off, and then I just have to retaliate right away. The one-handed, unless it's up against here, one-handed out here isn't going to do anything because he's just gonna, like, he can't physically squeeze even your size. He can't fit his hand around your neck. But you have to understand, like, when you're dealing with somebody bigger, it doesn't mean that the motions and movements are impossible. It just means you have to work harder and smarter to get out of those situations. But you also have to understand, like, the idea of momentum. And in this situation where they're driving through you with that choke, yes, if we were standing in place and he just had his hands around my neck, absolutely, like I'm just gonna kick for the groin or just do like a teep kick to the top of the leg and leave it at that as I'm doing all this crap. The idea of reaching the eyes, I can't even reach him when he's here, okay? So when he's got his hands around my neck, like especially with his arms, yeah, sure, I could come up through the middle, but if I'm really trying to do this, like he just turns his head. And if he starts really squeezing and I'm trying to do this, like I'm wasting time trying to get my hands on the face rather than focusing on here. So even if it's one where, say I lock down on one side as hard as I can, or I lock and I drop my weight a little bit just to control this, like now this one is essentially useless. I've got control here, and then sure, yeah, now I can start just following up with strikes and hits until he lets go, and then we do a 100-meter dash. If it's the momentum aspect where he's driving through, kicks are out of the question, because the moment I try and lift up that foot, I'm probably gonna fall down. Eyes are out of the question because again, he's driving through. Now understand this, the choke in this point of view is not that strong because it's more he's just squeezing and pushing. What he's looking for is to get us up against the wall. So again, if we're thinking like domestic violence and stuff, he's gonna push me up to the nearest object, wall, cabinet, whatever. So we're not gonna be running 50 feet. It would be more so like we're here and now he's just driving me back. So I have like a very limited time to be able to get out of these situations rather than trying to focus on kicks, eye jabs. So it works. Like that aggressive, now again, like even like this size, like you just can't hold, that momentum shift right away completely cuts those grips off. Only reason I don't like depending on the groin is like in that same exact situation when you did this, like there's no access now. At this point I would clock him and then go off running, or if he managed to turn back into me, absolutely. Like the question we had was also like if you choke me from the back, like if you just grab, yeah, if you just grab the back of my neck. But it's still the same idea, like if I pinch, it still starts trapping. If I pinch and shield, it really starts trapping. And then again, as we're going forward, at some point I'm going to pick a side, shoot up, and come right across, and just shoot down. These are more, like when we teach chokes, there's like the more, this is more of like an aggressive, abusive choke, of like the control point. You know, you walk away from me, I'm just going to grab your neck from behind. Similar to like a hair grab from behind. It's more just control and power choke. Right? Any sort of aggressive choke, even from like the side, is the same idea. Like get aggressive, shoot those arms up, and come down hard. Because as soon as I pinch, like that wrist is trapped and the choke's off. Shoot the hands up, break it down. So the harder ones that a lot of people are gonna have questions with now is up against the wall and on the ground. Couple things, if you're in the process of doing this and they slammed you up against the wall as you're trying, you don't want to square back up. If I land on the wall at an angle, I wanna stay on the angle because I'm in a better position to where one now, like look how he's already off shifted. Right here, he's gonna square back up with me. So he gets more power in the choke compared to when I'm here as it is. This I can still work this stuff, like I might have to shift my hips back a little bit as we do it, but I'm also in a position here where I can utilize the wall and my post and start dropping like low kicks to the leg. If you do square up, now is your opportunity to go for the groin. But again, I'd still at least, like if you're in this position, he's really squeezing, grabbing you, trying to choke you, this isn't gonna work squared up with him. I'm better off either, depending on size, like me, I can probably get away with collapsing at the wrist a little bit. Otherwise, I might just grab one and drop my weight to that side and just lock everything I've got onto one arm. And then from here, kick or quickly just release, and like a good hit here, this arm's coming off, this is now gonna be relaxed a little bit, or he's just gonna completely throw his hands up to protect himself, which now in that case, I get off the wall. So like this may not apply unless it's the initial, you fucked up leading into it, and now he gets you up against the wall, and we go from there. So let's start if you're on an angle. Now I want you to like squeeze, Hector. Like squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Yeah. So it still works. All right, so now do it squared up. So now you have to like work.
Yes. You have to.
So that's like the difference. Like, look how much you're, like I just have to shift and turn a little bit. You're completely like, when you get here, you're like completely dropping.
Yeah.
So again, it's not that it's impossible. You have to work that much. Like even if I'm going against someone that's a lot bigger in comparison for me, it's not going to be as simple as like just doing this. I might be able to get up here, and then as I start shifting my hips and weight, I'm dropping my whole body into it to just drop. The follow-up is what a lot of people question though. And again, yes, like if you have an opportunity to just take off running, then you better be able to sprint as fast as you can. Otherwise, when you get here, you might just have to follow up with whatever you can possibly do. Do everything but this. Try everything that the internet tells us to do, other than actually focus on controlling the choke. Because I say that's probably like the one that's...
I've heard the raise your arms up and then...
Try it. Yeah, try it. If you come off the wall,
yeah, it's hard.
like,
Besides doing that, it's so much easier.
He's just gonna push you right back up against the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one's, I can't. It's not working.
I've heard about, yeah, I've heard about that one before. The one you just.
And then I was like, was it from the other
But then it
one?
becomes
That's
like
not-
a fight, because like the one variable is that you know what we're doing right now.
Right.
So like you're naturally gonna react a little bit already.
Yeah.
So yes, if it's off guard, like I might be able to collapse this a little bit, like here. But the moment you feel that you just lost control, chances are you're gonna slam right back up, right? Like, because you're not gonna want to lose that position at all. So for me, when I do this, it's not like you're bringing the arms down, like you're completely disengaging those grips out of the gate and follow right away.
So if I'm already starting to lose consciousness, I'm panicking. For me to be like, okay, his eyes, I'm trying to get his eyes with my thumbs. It's a smaller muscle group that you're doing than just your entire arm and putting one
Correct.
arm.
Or just focus on the choke to begin with, and like even if I'm just holding on, like if you're squeezing and I just pull down a little bit, and I'm just holding on to this as much as I possibly can, he can't choke me until he's able to overpower that grip. So a lot of people forget that when it comes to choking, like focus on controlling the choke, and then sure, like if he starts bringing his head in really close, like I'm not gonna again look to like, dink. But I'm gonna strike for the eyes, or I'm gonna claw at the eyes and just do that and then come back to here. But I don't ever wanna lose that choke. And I think that's equivalent for any position, any fight, any MMA, jiu-jitsu, anything. If someone gets their hands on your neck,
Yes.
that's your sole focus.
Yeah.
None of this other shit. This one, I feel is an easier choke to disengage because I have access to my legs. I would either just like trap, because again, like this stuff is now out of the question. So it's now more so of like, I want to just trap these arms as much as I possibly can. And as I'm doing that, start working. So that, again, this is more like jiu-jitsu based, but either post on the ground. If you're on like a bed or something, it's gonna be more difficult. So instead, utilize the person's hip, and I want to push off their hip and get my hips off center. Because now from here, I can take this free leg and just stick it right here in the middle. I'm not trying to like do arm. I've seen people like teach when they're doing this, that they bring your legs up and over and like do weird fucking arm breaks and stuff. Like, again, you're fighting for your life. Post on the hip, get this off, get this knee in place, and just push. And now from here, like, I'm just gonna start kicking. At that point, like, he can try and push into me, even if it's a bigger guy. He can't, if I got my feet and knees here, like, I'm just gonna start kicking and just, like, now I'm back to a fighting position. The harder one, obviously, is gonna be if he's a mount. This is where people are gonna panic. And I'm assuming that out of all the choking positions, this would probably be your
Yeah, it's
toughest one.
hardest to get out of from jiu-jitsu also.
Yeah, so let's understand a couple things. One, I can feel all your weight is here. There's nothing here. So that's like one big thing to pay attention to. This isn't necessarily an option. This is definitely like, this is useless at this point. So I would, for me, one arm through the inside, one arm through the outside, just block. And I'm not looking to pull the arm off or peel the arm off, but I want to grab and just tuck my arms as tight as I possibly can. Take your feet, and I want to bump, but also start like coming off to the side here. Now, if I manage to bump and completely roll them, awesome. Like, even better for me. But I'm looking for like this reaction. From here, now all his weight shifted this way, which means I can now shrimp off this way. Work to get my knees in and start, again, fighting off to the side. And you're just looking to get that weight away from you. Alright, just come back. Are you able to post on his hips with your hands? Like push off. Instead of like, you clear the choke, so try clearing the choke and then shifting to the idea of just, as soon as we like get this and like you bumped, like shifting to here. And now as you start bumping, just start trying to like work your legs back up, like just trying to get into here. Because then from here I can utilize my leg pressure.
It's scary to like, okay, if I let go of this, he's gonna keep, you know.
Well, yeah, let's try it, yeah.
I'm trying to get out.
Yeah. So keep posting on the hips. Yeah, see? Because here's the thing though too, he's not gonna be able to keep choking you if you're constantly moving. Because he's gonna have to keep fighting your body.
You can't choke you when you're on the side like that.
Yeah. Now you're on the hips. Now you're on the hips. Yep. Keep working your hips out. Yes.
It doesn't matter now.
Now keep in mind, we're not punching each other. We're not like if I was doing this in a real like live situation and I was like the aggressor, sure. Like once I start losing that choke, at that point I might just punch you square in the face. So there's other variables that we aren't taking into account right now. If he's really choking down on me, like you don't have that momentum. But I can come in here and trap one so that when I bump, he has to let go. Because if he doesn't, he's just going airborne. So he has to let go to post. And as soon as he posts, I'm now free of the choke. And now it's at the point where, again, his weight is shifted. So I'm going to try and just work my hips back. I'm going to start posting on his hips, start pushing. And all we're looking to get is our hips, like get a shin in. Get a shin, get a knee to where I can start kind of pushing back like this. It's not the end of the fight, but it's like the first step to getting out of the choke to begin with, right? Like we've both wrestled, we both do, MMA stuff, and there's a lot of times like when you're in these situations, like even if we're in like close quarters, like sure, like I jab, but the moment I put my hand to you, he just has to turn his head. And the moment he turns his head, like that's gone. And if you sit there trying to focus on that, you're done. Because he's just gonna acknowledge like, oh, this guy's just going for this, take your back, take you down, whatever. So if this is like a life or death situation and he's squeezing the shit out of you, like if I'm sitting here trying to do all this stuff, like this is my focus. And again, if he's driving me in, and I'm focused on here, now I'm on the wall and I'm squeezing, like at this point, like I can't reach, I'm so focused on this, I've lost control, now I'm panicking, now I'm hyperventilating, adrenaline's rushing, fight's over. So when you are getting choked, any situation, on the wall, on the ground, control. Either, as we find, shooting, not out, not necessarily like across at the elbow. I want up and at the wrist. Because again, this is gonna put pressure on that wrist. And then now, depending on body size, I can either clear it or I have to really drop my weight with it and we go from there. Size does impact the fight, but it doesn't mean that you can't get out of situations. It just means you have to work harder, you have to work smarter, and you have to understand that the moment you start getting control of those chokes, or even if you disengage the choke, you have to follow up with something right away, because even running away from those situations, like we said, like sure, if I break this and I turn and run, he's on my back. So like those types of situations, sure, strike him a little bit and then 100-meter dash and get away to safety. So don't always believe everything you see online with eye jabs and groin kicks. Like they're great follow-up strikes if you can get control of the choke. So either get control of the choke, disengage the choke altogether, and we go from there.